So, I mean, what's the protocol with you, the SEC office? I mean, have you heard anything back about the referee incident?
You know what? I'll tell you, like I said the other night. You know, I told you I have great confidence in our SEC office, and I do. I think we've got the best conference office in America. I think we got the best conference in America, and I know this. They have a tough job to do, but there's no doubt they're going to do the job. And so again, I'm comfortable with whatever they do because I know that. We talk about it just means more, and I can assure you to our conference office, it means much more. And they're always going to do the right thing.
You have spoken about it?
Oh, yeah, we have. I mean, obviously, we would, but again, I just know that, again, I've got more to think about than that, and we've got to get ready to continue to try to get better as a basketball team.
Rick, there were 3 SEC games on Tuesday night in which a team came from at least 16 points down and won. And I wonder if that's a pretty good lesson about never relaxing regardless of how big of a lead you have.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't relax, and you've got to understand that, you know, we talked about every possession matters, and, you know, how quickly a couple of turnovers, we saw it in ourselves the other night. A couple of turnovers when you have a lead can swing the game one way or the other, and most of the time when you get leads, I do think players relax and start doing things, and it only takes really 2 plays to swing the momentum, to give the other team energy when they're really ready for the shower. And so if you don't understand that, again, 16, 20-point lead with that to go is really not that big a deal. You're not going to finish it.
I don't know how much you've practiced since the game. Just what kind of response have y'all gotten from everybody, just in terms of the rebounding differential from the other team?
Well, there's a lot when you look at it. You know, the numbers show 23, but I would say that when we break down the tape, there's probably really 13 of them, because those team rebounds that go out of bounds, that's where guys are really battling, and it just bounces that way. And you talk about where we went over to block shots and some of that. So again, I would look at it from a coaching standpoint. Instead of the number 23, is probably more around 12 or 13. And it wasn't like our guys weren't battling, but we didn't come up with it. And so we address it, and we know that rebounding is one of the key things that we talk about all the time. But we've got to be better.
After watching the tape of that, do you think you did get out-toughed and there was greater effort by you?
Well, when I talk about out-tough, what I mean, and that's a big word to use, and it's a word that's thrown around a lot in athletics, and it's not about not wanting to. Being tough to me is when the game goes on, like you play against a team that you expect them to be in the gaps, and all at once you're ripping that up, and they get aggressive, and you're not tough enough to make the adjustment. You know, the game gets down to where it becomes a rebounding game on the board. You know, where now you've got to say, okay, we've got to do this one thing. But in terms of an effort, I think our guys give effort. I think it's the mental part they're still trying to understand how fine a line it is, whether it's you think about, we come out the second half and have 2 possessions again where the ball doesn't go inside the 3-point line, where we just move it because we one dribble gap, and we couldn't. And when we did it early in the game, we kept getting them in a rotation where we could get to the glass. But the fact of the matter is, you know, when you give up, you have leads, you turn the ball over. To me, that's toughness. You know, understanding that, hey, we've got control here. Now we can't let them bail them out by doing something that just pick sixes. We gave them 4 of those when we had the lead early in the game.
What about Mississippi State? Kind of jumps out at you.
Well, I think right now they're arguably the hottest team in the league, and they can score. You go back and look when they were scoring in the 80s, they win. They're a different team, like most teams. When you're scoring and they get going, they can do a lot of different things, and they rely on getting to the lane a lot. Like not a lot. I mean, I think when I think about some teams in the league, you know, some of us really want to do that. Some teams are going to shoot 30, 35 threes, but they're a team that's definitely an inside-out team. And I think Ben does a great job, and his teams, they play like he wants them to play.
Are they one of the better rebounding teams?
They no doubt. They're a team that can feel they can get it up on the glass and go get it. So it will be another challenge for us rebounding the ball. And we've got to, again, we just can't help people right now with so many guys still understanding what it is by giving away points. That's what we can't do right now. That's where we don't have much room for error. That we don't put bodies on guys and let them get the stick backs or on the offensive end when we just throw the ball away, then they get out and there's no defense for it.
I think Reggie Perry is averaging a double-double. I think maybe the only one in the league. How good is he?
He's good. I mean, you watch him develop over the years, and again, I think he's a guy that when you look at him, he's just very comfortable in that system now because Ben has stayed with it, and he understands what Ben's looking for.
I imagine players probably can't help but like look at the net rankings, look at the bracketology, that type of stuff. And obviously the game the other night hurt you in that regard. But what's your message to the team just in terms of the opportunities that are still out there for you in terms of improving?
Well, again, I think in this league, I don't think our league's any different than anybody. This month and the way you finish. First of all, in terms of the season, I mean, anytime you got a conference bid at the end of the year tournament, everybody's alive until that's over, until they're done in that tournament. But up to that point, every game is a game that you got to say this is a playoff game. I mean, that's the way it is, and it's not just for us; it's for every team in the league. And every team in the league, and there's not when you look at it, there's not a team in the league that still doesn't have a chance. Not one team. And so, with that said, you know, it's about getting better, and there's no doubt that some separation will start taking place over this next 6 weeks, whatever we have left. And if we're good enough, we'll be there. If we're not, we won't. It's that simple.
You're starting 2 freshmen, playing a bunch more just this month, February. How tough is it for those young
It's
kids?
tough, but and you know what's really even going to be tough, Rob, because I got to get a couple more freshmen out there, and I got to do it, and it's on me to do it. I've got to give Urosh a chance. I've got to get Olivier. Those guys need to help John Fulkerson and Eve Pons. They need to do that, and we're going to ask Eve to do more and understand more from a couple different positions, but. We've got to give those guys, and Santiago's still learning. There's no doubt. Josiah's still learning. I mean, and he struggled the other night. He was hurt a little bit, and I think he showed some toughness by trying to fight through it. But it's this time of year we've got to take a lot of pride in getting these guys better while we can keep ourselves in position to win basketball games.
Is that a tweak for Josiah?
It was. He tweaked it a little bit. He actually did it at Kansas a little bit, but. Again, all teams go through it. All teams have that this time of year.
John Fulkerson got called for an illegal screen. Did he screen the way he was taught, or did he do something wrong?
Well, in that situation, I thought he screened the way he was taught, but by rule, it could easily be called a blind screen. You know, in the fact that if a defender is supposed to be allowed to have a step to open up, and if I were looking at that play again, I could tell you it could go either way, and I could also tell you that Jordan Bowden didn't do a very good job setting the screen up. So, again, I can't argue about that call. I mean, because again, I think some referees would look at it one way, some at the other. But again, it's all probably in the eyes of the beholder there. But the fact is that it was called the way the referee saw it.
Sorry to go back to the league office thing. Did you feel like what you had to say was heard? And do you feel
No doubt.
satisfied
I'm
with
telling you, Greg Sankey, Dan Liebervich, and Mark Whitehead. First of all, we got an unbelievable commissioner. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate with a lot of different things, and there's not a more accessible commissioner in the country. I'm telling you, he's there, he's on it. He's got a feel for what we go through. He's got a feel for what officials go through, and then I think he made a great hire when he hired Dan Liebervich. He's been there for all the coaches, and then Mark Whitehead is in a situation where him trying to build a staff, move everything forward. It's a tough job. It's one of those jobs that is a thankless job in some ways, but there's no doubt that I know Mark Whitehead's working as hard as he can. I know he is. I mean, I know the guy for a long time. I know he is trying to do that. Dan is, like I said, has done a great job, and we can't ask as coaches any more than what the commissioner. He came in when he came in as commissioner. The one thing he said he was going to do is give us every resource we needed to be competitive in this league, like our football, like our baseball teams, like our softball teams, our track and field, Olympic sports, because we're in the same league. And when you go back when I first got here, the league wasn't showing where it should be in basketball. But I can tell you from his point of view, everything he said he would do, he's done that. And when you do need to communicate with the SEC office, they're as good, as better than anybody I've ever been around. And the fact is, what makes them so good is they give you a trust level. You know they're going to look at it. They're going to be objective. If you're right, they're going to let you know that. If you're wrong, they're going to let you know that. And that's all. Consistency is all we want.
This team that you have has committing more turnovers per game than any you've had. How much do you think that is due to youth, and do you think that is something you can cut down in the second half of the year?
Well, we have to cut it down, but yeah, some of it's youth. There's no doubt about it. I could go back to some of our other teams when they were younger. We turn it over the same way, and it's growing pains. But yet by now, you would like to think that they understand it. But some of our turnovers in crucial times has been with our older players, and that's where there's concern in the fact that understanding when you're in a league where it becomes possession games, you expect your older guys to understand the importance of it, and they can't be in those situations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank